Vancouver definitely made it feel like this is our house, presented by Samsung. The Canadians playing to a 6-0 victory over Qatar. Let's head on out to Vancouver. Mackenzie Barwell on site at the Fan Fest, and she's joined by former Canadian men's assistant coach Michael Finley. Mackenzie.
Thanks, Andy. Well, Canada Soccer House here in North Vancouver has to be one of the most energetic places in the country. I was here this afternoon during the game. Michael, you were in the stadium, which I can only imagine was also incredible. Canada pick up their first World Cup win today, and they do so, outscoring Qatar 6-0. How historic of a moment is this?
Unbelievable. Football is all about firsts, right? First goal. First win, first tie, whatever. Today was probably the first monumental moment in football in Canada that could turn the tide. It was just, the atmosphere was incredible, but as someone who's been involved in football in Canada for so long, it was emotional, But they also were professionals, and they delivered on the day they needed to deliver.
Let's continue that theme of monumental moments, because, Michael, I think this team has a knack for enjoying having something to prove. I think about Kyle Larin and the way he came on against Bosnia to tie against that team, him putting Canada on the scoreboard first in this game against Qatar. There's someone like Jonathan David, who has received a lot of criticism for his time at Juventus and his inability to score recently with the national team. And today, he joins Messi as the only two players to score a hat-trick in this 2026 World Cup. What did you make of his performance today?
Well, it's interesting because at the end of the day, a lot of chatter, a lot of graffiti about Jonathan David. I think at the end of the day, he showed you why he is who he is and why he plays for a club like Juventus. And when there was questions asked about him prior to this game, he decided to show up. And that's exactly what we want from our players at this level of play. It's not about the maybes, it's about what we really can do and to prove it on the day. And he proved it on the day. And he rebounded from, a difficult game he had in the first match against Bosnia, but he proved that he has the quality to be an international star. And let's be honest, let's share the stage with Messi for a while. I'm happy to see that in a Canadian.
Absolutely, and I think he and Jesse Marsch have a really good relationship in that sense, because he was the first to put his hand up in that press conference, say that game against Bosnia wasn't his best, but he was going to come out again and continue to score, which is exactly what he did. Now, Michael, the other thing I wanted to pick your brain on when I was watching this game, I immediately thought, I want to get your opinion on what Jesse Marsch may have said in the second half hydration break after Ismail Kone's injury. Obviously, it was an emotional time, really difficult situation for Ismail and the rest of the team. How do they reset after something like that, yourself being a former coach?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult time. It's in match, so it is a really challenging moment because you don't really know. And so you have to put the players in a perspective of, you don't know the information, you still need to perform, you still need to deliver. It's a sad day. We don't have any confirmations of what that injury is, but I can imagine it's not good looking at what happened. But at the end of the day, football is about unfortunate scenarios, and injuries are part of that. And luckily, there is going to be depth in this squad to deliver. In terms of the rallying point, I think Jesse probably just said to them, look, let's keep our heads here, gentlemen. The thing that was very noticeable when you looked at this scenario is it could have gone pear-shaped really quickly, because people are emotional and people are pointing fingers, and the officials are trying to keep the atmosphere at a temperature that doesn't go higher than it needs to. So I give credit to the players, I give credit to the staff to keep that sort of calm at that moment in time, so they could continue to do what they needed to do, and that was to deliver a result that puts them in a great position for the game against Switzerland.
Well, let's talk about that, because as you said, it could have gone pear-shaped, but it didn't. That 6-0 win allows them to kind of jump ahead of Switzerland because of that goal differential, so they're probably on the front foot going into this next one.
Absolutely. I mean, look, the reality is that Canada needs to start to believe in themselves and deliver on games like this. The days of them being the underdog are over. These players are playing at the various highest level internationally. We have to have more demands on them. The public wants more demands, because that's what drives what you're seeing here. And the fact is, they showed up today. They did what they needed to do. Jesse made the changes that he needed to make, and I think they were good changes. And they turned up and they delivered. And that is exactly what you need to do in a World Cup.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah. Well, it's an exciting situation to be in with, somebody like Nathan Saliba stepping up when he's called upon and then burying that free kick as soon as he steps on the pitch. I'll finish with this, Michael. What is your thoughts on what this country has become with regards to the international football landscape, seeing the turnout today across the country, but specifically in Vancouver?
Oh, I tell you that when I moved because I was involved with the program for a very long time. And it sounds a bit of a self-promoting scenario, but I can't tell you how incredibly excited and pleased I am for not just the players, but the staff and the many people that have been involved in this process. But what really moved me was the fact that there was a group of fans that showed up and they wanted to support Canada at football. I've been in stadiums as a head coach of Canada where you could count the people in the stands. Yeah. So to see a stadium like that, the last time I saw the stadium was like that is we played Mexico in a World Cup qualifier. And it was just like this amazing moment. But now we're talking about consistency. You saw what happened in Toronto, full house. You saw what happened today, full house. You know what you're going to see on Switzerland? Full house. You know what I mean? That's what we want. We want the demands that come from that. And I was really pleased to see so many people so happy and so pleased to be part of Canadian football today.
Absolutely. I wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to speak on that because I could see the twinkle in your eye as soon as you got to North Van. So if things go as planned against Switzerland, they will stay here for the knockout stage in Vancouver. So looking forward to that if they're able to get the job done. Andy, back to you.
All right, great stuff, Mackenzie and Michael. Lots of energy there, and why not? Canada's feeling good heading into this final game in the group. Let's talk about Switzerland, and in particular, how good are the Swiss here? Wheels, we mentioned they played today as well, 4-1 winners over Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Very good. They're an excellent footballing side. They were exceptionally patient against Bosnia today. I think that Canada need to pick up the tempo and try to force them into some uncomfortable situations. Yoann Manzambi didn't start this game, but what a player he is. The central midfield matchup's going to be a difficult one. They play with three in the midfield, including Granit Xhaka, so there's a lot of muscle and experience there. They're not going to give up very many chances. Canada's going to have a much more difficult time breaking them down, and if it turns into a tactical chess match, Switzerland would be the favorites heading into this game. But with the home crowd, and if Canada plays at tempo and tries to play fast, I think they can make Switzerland at the very least feel uncomfortable.
I do rate the Swiss side. I think they're a team that are obviously sound. They're tidy. I think Akanji at the back as well. Like you look at center backs and obviously Xhaka in the midfield. Very poised, calm on the ball, and they want to move it and be methodical. However, this Canadian team, high tempo, the press, the fact that they run to throw in the ball, if they can play that type of tempo, I think it will really frustrate Switzerland. This is going to be the best team that Canada has played up until this point. They're ranked 19th for a reason. They always go on, or the past 3-4 World Cups, they always go on to the knockout round because of the ability for them to be so poised. But I think they're a beatable side. Obviously, it's not going to be a game where Canada goes and scores 6 goals against Switzerland. But I think what they showed today of their spirit and the fact that they were united, if they can go and be dominant, if they can go and try to impose themselves in the game, they have a real shot of not just getting a point, but getting 3 points.
If they can, like, the game model is going to be completely different from the two that we experienced. Switzerland is so comfortable on the ball that Canada are going to have to suffer. They're going to have to rely on their defensive shape to a certain degree, which we all understand that Canada plays at high intensity. And the center-back partnership, Defugerol and Cornelius, they haven't played anyone like Brie and Bolo yet. Yeah. He is a handful up top. So that's going to be the first real challenge for that center-back partnership. I think the fullbacks, Larea, Johnston, you have a lot of confidence in the way that they're playing right now. But let's see how the Canadian center-backs do going up against a really formidable player. Again, with 4 points now, like, Canada's advancing from the group. Yeah. Like, they're advancing to the next round of this competition, but it's about finishing first and staying in Vancouver.
And the cherry on top, I think it's a challenge, though. I think if you think about players who were a guy that was exceptional today in Johnston, having to mark an Ndoye for 90 minutes or 70 minutes, how long he might play next week, that's a challenge. And what I've noticed about this Canadian side is when they have to play teams that are better, they do step up their game.
Yeah, they do.
The underdog mentality, also with Ishmael Kone going out and being injured, also being at BC Place now that was packed out and looked like a red house of over 50,000, all that plays to Canada's advantage. Now you have a David and you have a Laren feeling good like themselves. I really like the chance. They need to stay in the game, but you're right, Wheels. It's like when Switzerland are coming and throwing these punches, you got to make sure that you're ready to block and weave and give one back.
So world rankings aside, I mean, the fact that Bombito, by the way, came into this game, we know that Davies is available. He didn't even use Promise David as a sub in this one. When you just look at the way the World Cup has gone so far for both these teams in 2 games, who would you favor? World rankings aside, who would you favor, Jordan?
I think Switzerland based on the record, right? But I'm going off of the intangibles, meaning the feeling, meaning the fact that you're hosting a World Cup, meaning that you're going into a BC place that you now know and felt that, like you felt that environment, what it was like today. But if you're looking at like rankings and how things were and the stats and feeling of Switzerland, then yeah, of course they would be the favorites. But again, I think them being the favorites favors Canada next week because that's what they want. They want to have that vibe, but also knowing that Switzerland, and they just really need a point, right, to go and do it and to top the group. So I think that also helps Canada next week.
You can see the early market on Bet365, Switzerland plus 130. They are the favorites. That's still at plus money, so it's not a significant favorite, but they are the favorite coming into this game, which a lot of people that are just watching this group play out say, well, how is Switzerland the favorite? They tied the Qatar side, which Canada dismantled tonight. Context was completely different. They were playing in really warm weather, right in the middle of the day. It played to Qatar's strengths. Switzerland had an XG of almost 4 in that game, expected goals of almost 4. They just couldn't finish their chances. And Qatar hung around, and as the heat seeped in, the game slowed down, and it played to Qatar's favor. Playing in Vancouver, that's going to play to Canada's favor as well. It's just whether Canada can withstand, their structure can withstand some really smart, some really intelligent play by Switzerland. It's going to be a completely different test this time around.
All right, looking forward to that one. One more game to go for Canada in the group. Can they accomplish their mission of finishing first in that group? More footy coming your way here on the Channel 1 Soccer. TELUS Canadian Championship resumes. You have leg 1 of the quarterfinal. It's going to be a very busy July 8th. Those are the matches you can catch right here. More coming up on Bet365 for the win. Oliver Platt's going to be joining us. Is that him jumping up and down at Canada Soccer House? I don't know. We'll find out what kind of partying he did.
Always in the back. He'd be blocking everyone.
So tall.
Ginormous head.